My own child, my only son, looked me dead in the eye tonight and told me to get out of my own house. Not a joke. Not an argument. Not a misunderstanding. He stood there in my living room, with that new wife of his clutching his arm like she owned the very breath in his lungs, and he said it. Word for word. Give my wife your bedroom, or get out of here right now. In that second, something inside me went dangerously still. Because I did not raise a child who talked to me like that. Because this boy once cried for me when he had nightmares. Because this house, every brick, every plate on the shelf, every fold of curtain, was built by my hands. And yet somehow, I was being treated like the intruder. I didn't scream. I didn't break. I just looked at that girl first, my brand new daughter-in-law, and do you know what I saw? Not fear. Not confusion. She was smiling. A slow, satisfied smile. Like she'd been waiting for this moment. My name is Gloria Johnson. 57 years old. Proud black mother born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama. My voice is not soft, but it is steady. I do not beg. I do not shrink. The women in my family do not leave our homes, we build them. And the fact that my own child had forgotten that is where this story begins. If you are listening to this, please don't go anywhere. Please like, subscribe, share, and tell me in the comments if you've ever been disrespected in your OWN house by somebody you fed at your table. I need to know I'm not alone. Now let me tell you exactly what led to that moment. It started 3 weeks earlier, when I began noticing little things. The way she would touch furniture like she was inspecting it, not appreciating it. The way she'd help in the kitchen but move my spices around like she was optimizing. The way my son, my baby, started correcting me. For things I've done the same way for 30 years. At first, I held my tongue. New brides struggle to adjust. I prayed. I gave grace. But then she began doing something much quieter. Much colder. She started erasing me. Not loud. Not disrespectful to my face. No. She did it the way snakes move in gardens. If guests came over, she'd speak over my answers like I wasn't there. She started calling my recipes family signature dishes. She would step into rooms before me, as if making sure I understood, she was first now. And my son. He started following her lead. Calling me Mom, but in a distant tone. Correcting my memory of events. Suggesting maybe I'd be more comfortable upstairs for now, since the downstairs gets too busy. Too busy for WHO? This was my kitchen. My living room. My bedroom downstairs. He grew up in that room crawling at my feet while I folded laundry. But I said nothing. Not until tonight. Until she walked into my kitchen while I was cooking dinner, reached into the cabinet and took out my plates, and said, cheerfully, like I was her maid, "We don't like these colors. I'll order ones that match our aesthetic." Our aesthetic. Not your house. Not Mama's home. Our. I looked at her. And I swear to you, everything in my soul told me this was not ignorance. This was conquest. And that was before she called out, "Honey, tell your mama what we decided." And my son walked in, eyes cold, like somebody else was wearing his skin, and said it. "Give my wife your room or get out of here right now." It was in that moment, when the house fell dead quiet, that I made a decision that will change everything you're about to hear next. Because instead of crying, I smiled. And said, "All right then." He didn't expect me to walk away so easily. That's the part that rattled them. Because after he shouted those words, "Give my wife your room or get out right now," I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I didn't break. I just turned off the stove, wiped my hands on my apron, and walked straight past them without a word. Silence is dangerous when it comes from a black mother. I didn't go upstairs. I went outside. Onto the front porch. And I sat in the exact rocking chair my own mother once sat in, the morning she warned me. Children don't change when they marry. They just get exposed. I rocked slow. Calm. Like I had all day. Inside. Whispering. Tension. The new wife's voice rising. I caught little pieces through the open window. "She's manipulating you. Can't you see that? Oh. So now I was the manipulator. That girl just signed her own spiritual eviction. A few minutes later, my son came outside. No apology. His face still tense. But his voice softer. Mom, look, it's not what you think. It's just, she needs to feel comfortable here. You know how women are about territory. Territory. Did my son just refer to my house like it was animal land his wife needed to mark? I finally looked at him. And I swear, for a moment, I saw my baby boy. The toddler who used to fall asleep in my lap after church service. The child who used to kiss my shoulder for no reason. But that moment passed quick. Because the man standing there was no longer that child. You really believe this is about territory? I asked him quietly. He hesitated. Mom, she doesn't feel respected here. Ah. So there it was. The rewriting of truth. She doesn't feel respected, I repeated slowly. In a house she didn't contribute a single brick to. A house she didn't scrub, furnish, or birth her children in. But I must surrender my room to make her feel respected. He shifted. Eyes on the floor. Like guilt was too heavy to look me in the face. But before he could answer, she came storming out. Why are you still talking to her? She snapped. She's doing this on purpose to make you feel bad. That's when it clicked. This girl didn't just want comfort. She wanted control. Full control. Of my son. Of this house. Of the narrative. Every tyrant always needs one thing, the silencing of whoever remembers the truth. But she didn't know whose blood runs in me. We don't get erased. We document. I've cooked dinner, I said calmly, standing. Serve yourselves. I need to make a phone call. I saw her smirk. She thought I was calling someone to complain. Maybe a sister. A friend. Someone to cry to. No. I called my lawyer. Because I don't raise my voice. I raise paperwork. The one thing bold daughters-in-law often forget. Black mothers are not weak. We are strategic. I still remember my voice clear as glass when I said it. Mr. Daniels, it's Gloria. Yes. It's time. Activate the clause. I give consent. The clause. The prenuptial clause. The one I quietly insisted be added when my son insisted on marrying fast. Because mothers don't stop being mothers just because the child thinks they're grown. You pray for peace, but you prepare for war. I came back inside. The smell of my still warm cornbread. Her perfume slithering through the air like roses hiding thorns. My son sitting at the table looking lost between devotion and ego. And I said one sentence. Very calm. Very final. You have 48 hours. They froze. 48 hours, she sputtered. For what? I looked right at her. To decide whether you want to live in my house respectfully, or find another one. Her mouth dropped. But I wasn't done. And before you answer, just know, you married my son. You did not buy my house. This land is protected by contract. That clause is now active. If you disrespect me one more time, one more, you will not only be removed, you will leave with nothing. Her face went ghost white. My son looked like someone had just translated a language he forgot his mother spoke. Because it hit him. I was not powerless. I was patient. And those are not the same thing. She finally found her voice, but it came out thin. You can't be serious. I smiled. Gentle. Deadly. I was serious before you walked in my kitchen. Silence. No screaming. No fight. Just a shift in the air so thick, you could hear their future rearranging itself. And then I turned away. Cut the stove back on. And started slicing cornbread. Because dinner don't stop just because somebody tried me. I plate my food. Sit. Eat. Peacefully. And I do not acknowledge either of them again for the rest of the night. But trust me. They did not sleep easy. Because silence from a mother is never the end. It's the beginning of something they're not ready for. He didn't eat that night. Neither of them did. They sat across from me at the dinner table, uneaten plates in front of them, while I calmly finished my cornbread and greens like nothing in this world had shifted. But in reality, everything had shifted. A boundary once crossed will never be uncrossed again. The house was quiet, but not peaceful. It was tight. Loaded. Like the air was thick with glass and any wrong word could bleed someone out. I went to my room. My room. I showered. Took my time moisturizing my skin like always. Laid out my silk nightgown. Moved slow. Unbothered. Because when you move calm after setting a boundary, it shakes them harder than any shouting ever could. Around 12:30 a.m. A soft knock. My son. No wife with him. His voice low. Unsteady. Mom, can I come in? I kept folding my scarf. Didn't even turn. You already did. He stepped inside. I could feel it before I even saw his face. Shame. He stood there like a little boy again. Not the arrogant man from a few hours ago. Not the one puffed with ego. But my child. Mom, his voice broke. I didn't mean it the way it sounded. I stayed silent. Because silence makes people admit the truth that apologies never reach. I didn't want to start my marriage with conflict. I was trying to keep her happy. Still silent. He swallowed, hands shaking. Mom. I love her. But you're my mother. I didn't mean to disrespect you. I just forgot who built you, I finished. His eyes snapped up. I spoke soft. But firm. You forgot who taught you to walk when life tries to push you. You forgot who bled her hands building this life so you'd never have to rent your dreams from nobody. You forgot who prayed over your bed while you slept. And you let a woman come into this home and speak to me like I was a stranger. Tears. He couldn't hold them. Mom, I swear I'll fix it. I finally turned and looked at him. And I saw it. Not just guilt. Fear. Not of me. Of losing something he didn't realize was already sliding out of his hands. Because when a house loses its mother, it becomes a battlefield. Before I could say a word, her voice sliced through the hallway like venom. I knew you'd run back to her. She stormed into my doorway without permission. Eyes blazing. Voice cracking. Do you not see what she's doing? She's controlling you. She's controlling both of us. I didn't blink. She was shaking now. Unhinged. If she stays in this house, I'm leaving. You choose right now, me or her. Ah. There it was. The ultimatum. The one every manipulative spirit eventually plays. Not love. Possession. My son stood there. Trapped. His soul being choked between honor and obsession. And this time, I stood. And stepped forward. Slow. Measured. Unmoved. Go ahead, I said calmly, eyes locked on hers. Leave. Everything stopped. She staggered back, stunned. Even my son froze. Not expecting that response. You said choose, I continued, voice steady. So let me make the choice for you. If this marriage of yours requires the destruction of the mother who raised the man you married, then pack your bags tonight. I will not stop you. She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Because I wasn't begging for position. I was surrendering the battlefield. The most terrifying thing you can ever do to someone who lives off control. I stepped back, hand on the doorknob. Let me make this crystal clear, I said. You may be his wife. But this is my house. I do not compete for a throne I built. If you cannot respect that, leave. I closed the door. Behind it, I heard her start to scream at him. No longer calm. No longer strategic. Exposed. My son didn't scream back. He stayed silent. Longer than I expected. Until her voice broke. Then, the sound of a chair being pushed back. Footsteps. Only one set. My son. Walking away from her. Not me. And that's when I laid down. Because I knew by morning, everything would fall exactly where it belongs. She didn't sleep. I know, because I heard her pacing the hallway until almost dawn, heels clicking like claws, desperate, cornered, unable to accept that the game had just flipped without her permission. But my son, he didn't go after her. He slept. In the downstairs guest room, the one his mother prepared for him since childhood. The one he always chose, even after growing into a grown man. Because peace, real peace, whispers blood. Not conquest. Not possession. And when the sun rose, they weren't together. She was already dressed. Bag in hand. Eyes red, not from tears, but from disbelief that manipulation hadn't worked. She waited by the front door like a queen expecting someone to chase her. Nobody moved. I was at the stove cooking breakfast like any normal morning. Eggs, biscuits, turkey bacon. Calm. Present. Quiet power. My son walked in from the guest room right at 7:14 a.m. He didn't look at her. Didn't greet her. He went straight to the kitchen, kissed my cheek, and said softly, "Morning, Ma. You want orange juice or tea today?" And that's when she snapped. "Are you seriously making her breakfast right now?" He didn't even turn. "The same mother who built this house?" "Yes. I am." Silence. She was invisible in that moment, and she felt it clawing her skin. She walked forward, voice shaking from rage more than hurt. "So that's it. You choose her over your wife. After everything I sacrificed to be here." I set my spatula down. "Stop," I said. She froze. "You were not sacrificed. You were welcomed. Until you confused hospitality with ownership." She opened her mouth. I raised a hand. "I have no hatred for you. But my peace will not be negotiated in a house I built standing on top of my mother's prayers. You did not just disrespect me last night. You disrespected legacy." My son finally spoke. And his voice. Solid. Unapologetic. "You will not speak to my mother like she is the rival. You are the wife I chose, but she is the reason I even had the foundation to choose at all." Her eyes went wild. Because a man in love is powerful. But a man who has remembered. Untouchable. She tried one last dagger. "So that's it. You want a weak man? A mama's boy?" He turned, fully, and for the first time since they arrived. He wasn't trembling. "I want a wife," he said. "Not a conqueror." Silence. It hit like a gunshot. She staggered. Not from heartbreak, from ego collapse. And then, she did exactly what I knew she would. She tried to leave with triumph, not defeat. "I'll pack my things." I stopped her with 3 soft words. "You won't need to." She blinked. "What?" I looked at my son. He nodded once, firm. "I already packed them for you." Her breath caught. Not because she was being put out, but because she realized it was decided long before she woke up. You cannot outrun a mother and a son when they stand in alignment. She grabbed her bag, shoulders stiff, and walked out without looking back. But before she could close that door herself, I said gently, "Marriage is sacred. But so is motherhood. You cannot break one to secure the other and expect God to bless it." The door closed. And peace returned like oxygen after drowning. My son sat across from me. No words. Just presence. Then, very softly, he finally whispered, "If you're still listening to this story right now, I want you to tell me something in the comments." He looked at me. "Tell me, would you have chosen differently?" His eyes were wet. Not from pain. From awareness. From rebirth. From coming home. He didn't ask for likes. Didn't ask for sympathy. Just truth. And I already knew. The world was about to answer him. Chapter 5 now. He didn't leave the house that day. He didn't go after her. He just sat at the table, quiet, while the morning light crept across the kitchen tiles like God himself was inspecting the room. Sometimes, the loudest rebuilding happens in silence. He let the silence stay. No defense. No explanation. No regret. Just understanding. And as I washed my hands at the sink, I heard something I had not heard from my son in years. "Mema, pray with me. Not pray for me. Pray with me." That's when I knew pride had died in him overnight. I turned off the faucet, dried my hands, and we stood right there in that kitchen. No church music, no audience, no theatrics, and bowed our heads. I didn't pray long. Just truth. Father, thank you for correcting without humiliating. Thank you for protecting what was on the verge of being lost. And thank you for letting him see before it was too late. My son's shoulders shook. Not sobbing. Releasing. The kind of release a man only has when he realizes, for the first time, the difference between love and control. He whispered, barely above breath. I didn't recognize her anymore, Mama. But worse. I didn't recognize myself around her. I said nothing. He needed to speak freely now. He finally looked up, voice real, raw. She kept telling me a strong man leads his wife. But she didn't want leadership. She wanted obedience. Control. She wanted me to prove I loved her by dishonoring the woman who loved me without asking for anything back. His hands balled into fists. That wasn't love. That was ownership. For the first time, I saw not just my son. I saw a man reborn. And before I could even respond, his phone rang. Calling non-stop. He glanced at it. Let it ring. I'll talk to her, he said quietly. But with the right voice. Not the scared one she fed. And that's when he did something I did not expect. He stood. Walked to the front door. Opened it wide. And placed his own phone outside on the porch. Like a boundary, made physical. Not blocking her. Not running from her. But stepping into authority she could no longer manipulate. He came back inside, exhaled deeply, and sat down again. Not a boy seeking approval. A man choosing alignment. A man who had come home to himself. And then, the most unexpected moment of all. He looked at me, eyes clear for the first time in months. Mama, if you're okay with it. I want to stay here. For now. Just until I figure out my next step. Not as a child. As a man regrouping. I nodded once. No pity. No babying. Just permission. But I said this, and only this. If you stay, this time, you cover this house with leadership. Not just acceptance. There's a difference. His answer came fast. Yes, I understand. And in that moment, the house didn't just get quieter. It got safe again. Because peace isn't just the absence of chaos. Peace is when a man finally chooses truth over ego. If you're still listening right now, type "We choose peace" in the comments. Let me see how many of us refuse to ever be ruled by chaos again. The house felt different that afternoon. Not just quiet, but restored. Not the uncomfortable silence that feels like walking on glass, but the kind that feels like healing after a storm. The kind that makes you breathe deeper without realizing it. Around 2 p.m., my son came back in from the porch where he had left his phone. He didn't rush to pick it up. He just glanced at it, saw the missed calls, the messages, and walked right past it. That phone was no longer the master of this house. He sat on the couch across from me. No TV playing, no air fryer humming, not even a clock ticking too loud. Just presence. And I could tell, for the first time in months, his mind wasn't racing. It was finally still. He didn't talk like he was ready to run anywhere. He didn't beg me for advice. He didn't throw out excuses or reasons. He just asked one question. Mama, when did you know Daddy was the one? Not angrily. Not comparing. Not desperate. Just seeking wisdom the right way, with the heart of a man who is finally ready to receive it. I smiled. Because that was the real turning point. Not when he defended me. Not when she walked out. Not even when he chose respect over ego. No, this was the moment I knew my son had matured. When a man finally humbles himself enough to seek righteous counsel, not control, not validation, but wisdom. That's when he's ready to rebuild. I took a slow breath and answered. I knew your father was the one, I said softly, the moment I realized I could stand beside him without disappearing. He nodded slowly, listening deeply. So I gave him more. Love isn't proven by how loud somebody fights for you, I continued. Sometimes the loudest fighters are just the most terrified of losing control. Real love doesn't need an audience. It creates peace even when nobody's watching. His eyes softened. I could feel the shift happening in him. I leaned back. And listen to me carefully. A woman who truly loves you will never ask you to dishonor your mother. Not because she wants to compete, but because she understands legacy. He rubbed his face slowly. The way she used to look at you, Mama, he whispered, almost ashamed. Like I owed her everything. Like if I didn't give it, she'd take it by force. That's not partnership, I said calmly. That's possession. And possession always tries to isolate first. His silence said he knew exactly what I meant. Isolation. That is how control begins. Convince you that your mother is too traditional. Convince you that your friends are jealous. Convince you that you're weak if you need guidance. Then they become your only voice. And if the only voice you hear is theirs, it becomes very easy to mistake control for care. He finally exhaled. Slow. Heavy. Mima, he said quietly, thank you for not yelling at me. Thank you for not humiliating me. You could have, but you didn't. I looked him straight in the eye. Grown men don't come back home when they're beaten. They come back home when they feel safe. If I humiliated you, I wouldn't be a mother. I'd be your enemy. He didn't cry. He didn't need to. The weight lifting off his chest was loud enough. He stood up. Not restless. Purposeful. Let me cook tonight, he said. Not a question. A declaration. I didn't stop him. He moved to the kitchen, rolled up his sleeves, and opened the fridge like a man fully present. And I, for the first time in a long time, sat back and let him serve. He cooked slow. Respectful. Not rushing to impress. But moving with intention. He made salmon, roasted vegetables, garlic butter rice, the exact dish he learned from me back in high school before prom night. And then, I noticed something that almost brought tears to my eyes. He set the table. No phone. No TV. No distractions. Just 2 plates. And he waited for me before sitting down. I didn't say a word. I just reached for his hand before we ate. And do you know what he did? He squeezed mine first. Strong. Real. Intentional. And whispered under his breath, I'll never let anyone turn me against you again. That right there. That was the moment. The moment a boy became a protector. Not because he lost a woman, but because he found his honor. And if you're listening to this right now, type honor restored in the comments. Because this isn't just about marriages. It's about what happens when a bloodline remembers itself. I watched the clock roll past 2:17 a.m., and that was when I knew sleep wasn't coming for me tonight. Not after what just happened downstairs. Not after the way Mama said my name, quiet, like she was afraid to touch the truth out loud. The whole house was silent now. Except not really. The kind of silence where you can still feel everything humming under it. Betrayal, exhaustion, and that sting behind your eyes right before tears you refuse to let drop. Mama was still downstairs cleaning. That's how she deals. Not crying. Not yelling. Just wiping what's already clean. I stayed on the upstairs hallway, halfway between my room and hers, fingers pressed so tight into the banister that my knuckles went hot, then numb. I didn't want to go back to my room. But I couldn't go down there either. Not yet. So I just stood there, like if I didn't move, all of it might stay suspended too. That split second before the break. Until I heard it. Mama's voice. Not talking to anybody. Not praying. Just this soft, broken whisper. Why my kids? That was it. I walked down the stairs before my mind even decided. Her back was to me, shoulders shaking, the first time I'd seen her cry in over 10 years. Mama, I said softly. She froze. Not turned. Didn't even wipe her face. Just froze, gripping the edge of the kitchen sink like it was the only thing keeping her upright. I stepped closer. This time she still didn't look at me, but she said, voice thin, like paper left in the sun too long. Tell me the truth. The words sat there like a blade in the air. She turned finally, and her eyes were red, wet, wide. Baby, she whispered, just, please don't lie to me. Was someone lying on me in my own house? The question knocked the breath right out of me. Because she wasn't asking what happened. She was asking if it happened before tonight. If this house had been disrespected, in that way, if somebody had been slipping around her before her eyes, and I could have lied. God knows, most kids would have lied. But I am my mother's daughter. So I didn't. My throat burned like it was made of glass. I swallowed. Then I nodded. Once. Slow. And Mama's knees actually buckled. I caught her. She hit my arms like she was made of air, but she felt so heavy. Like all the years she held, the world finally collapsed back into her bones at once. She didn't sob. She didn't scream. She just whispered. No church woman deserves this. And something inside me cracked so sharp I felt it in my teeth. Because she didn't say mother. She didn't say wife. She said church woman. She was talking to God. And she wasn't asking why him. She was asking, why wasn't I protected? Mama pulled away gently, wiped her face, and stood fully upright again, straight spine, warm skin gone cold. But her eyes. That softness was gone. Gone. She took a breath, calm. Too calm. The kind of calm people get right before they do something that can't be taken back. And she said, in this dead steady voice, "Go wake your brother." I flinched. Mama. Go. Wake. Him. I didn't argue. I went. By the time we came back to the kitchen, Kenny rubbing sleep from his eyes, whispering what happened, Mama already had the Bible open. Not the small one. The huge hardbound one from the top of the armoire that only came out for births, deaths, and war. She didn't look at us. She was flipping pages like she already knew where she was going. Then she said, "This house can be washed tonight. Every spirit called by name." Kenny froze. I didn't move. Mama didn't ask who was guilty. She didn't want to hear it. Because she already knew. And that was worse than hearing it. She turned each page like it was a funeral bell. And I knew, whatever was gonna happen next, wasn't just about tonight. This was going to change this family forever. But what none of us saw, none of us, was the movement at the window behind her. The silhouette. Watching. Still. Unmoving. And closer than I remembered the neighbor's fence ever being. As if it wasn't outside the house. But with us already. Inside. I didn't scream. But I swear to God. Something in that house exhaled with me. The moment that oil touched every doorway in that house, the air changed. Not dramatic. Not move aloud. But heavy. Like the atmosphere itself just shifted allegiance. And I knew, without looking, that whatever had been lurking in that house just got cornered. So I kept moving. Not shouting. Not trembling. Just authority. Because when a mother prays from a place beyond fear, hell remembers her voice. My son stood completely still in the living room as I moved from room to room, anointing every threshold, every window frame, whispering the same thing over and over. Not this house. Not this bloodline. Not anymore. I didn't ask God to show up. I announced that he already had. And on the last door, the guest room, the one that woman had insisted be hers, I paused. Not because of fear. Because something resisted. Like the air itself didn't want me to open that door. I laid my hand on the doorknob quietly, not shaking, and the knob turned by itself. Slow. Cautious. Like something inside realizing it had no exit left. I didn't step back. I pushed that door open. Still no theatrics. Just authority. And what I saw made the hairs on my arm rise. Not shadows. Not a figure. But a wall-sized mirror she'd brought, draped halfway with a crimson silk scarf. Except the scarf wasn't covering the mirror. It was moving. Like something behind it was breathing. My son saw it too. His voice low. "Mama, don't." I walked straight in. Laid my hand on that mirror like I was placing judgment on a pulse. Because I could feel it. That woman's spirit had planted something here. Something that hadn't left just because she did. And I spoke these words slowly, not loud, but surgical. "Your invitation is revoked." The scarf dropped flat. No draft. No breeze. It just died. Like a living thing losing its host. A sound followed. One single, sharp knock, from inside the mirror. My son flinched. I did not. Because that wasn't her. That was the thing she used. And this time, I didn't whisper. I declared. You will not steal another son. You will not open another door. I close this house to every spirit that feeds on confusion and pride. In the name of Jesus, get out. The mirror didn't crack. It exhaled. A hot, foul gust, like decay, behind the glass. Then silence. The kind of silence that isn't empty. The kind where peace returns. My son stepped closer. Like a man stepping out from a spell. His voice low, shaken, humbled. Mama, was that over? I turned to him. And in that moment, before I could even answer, someone knocked on the front door. 3 times. Slow. Like they already knew we were waiting. The knock wasn't frantic. It wasn't scared. It was confident. 3 slow hits to the front door, like whoever was on the other side didn't come to ask. They came to be let in. My son and I locked eyes. No words, just a knowing. He stepped forward first. Still calm. Still steady. But I could tell, his spirit was fully awake now. No longer the same man who would have opened that door blindly just 24 hours ago. He unlocked the door, but didn't open it. Not yet. He simply said through the wood. Who is it? No answer. Just breathing. A woman's breathing. Sharp. Tense. Like someone pacing barefoot in the dark. My son's jaw tightened. Not in anger. In recognition. He didn't open the door. Instead, he spoke again, voice firm, but not afraid. If you've come to curse this house, don't. That era has ended. Silence. Then a laugh. Soft. Smiling. But wrong. That laugh women use when they know they've already crossed a line they can't come back from. Her voice slipped through the wood. Low. Controlled. Not crying, but close. A woman who thinks she still has leverage. I left something in that house. She didn't say your house. She said that house. She no longer claimed it as hers. That in itself told me everything. My son's answer came without hesitation. You didn't leave anything we permit to stay. A pause. Then she broke. Not a wail. Not pain. Rage. I warned you, that woman is poisoning you. She wants you back under her. That's when I spoke for the first time. I didn't raise my voice. I just placed my hand on the door. And said. You are standing outside a sealed house. The access you once had is gone. You may speak, but you do not command here. Dead silence. Until the air changed. Again. But not evil this time. Conviction. I heard her step back. One shaky inhale. Then, finally, truth. Why didn't it work on you? She wasn't asking to threaten. She was asking to understand. I leaned my forehead gently to the door. Because I never fought you. I fought what was using you. Her breath hitched. Like the first loosening of a chain. A minute passed. Then something I did not expect happened. A soft knock. From the mirror room. Inside the house. My son turned slowly. Eyes wide. We hadn't even closed that door yet. Whatever had been weakened. It wasn't done. This wasn't over. Not spiritual. Not physical. It was about to become both. That second knock, from inside the house, did not echo. It thudded. Like the mirror itself had lungs. My son turned toward the hallway, frozen. Not terrified. Just calculating. He finally understood. This wasn't just spiritual anymore. It was personal. 2 forces. One outside, one inside. Both claiming something that did not belong to them. He didn't look to me for direction. He moved. Slow. Steady. Toward that guest room. The mirror door still open. The air colder there now. Not violent. Just watching. Like something waiting for permission. Outside, the woman's breathing shifted. She felt it too. She whispered through the front door like she was no longer speaking to us. But to it. Wait for me. Wait. No. No. She wasn't afraid of what was inside. She was aligned with it. This wasn't her coming to break free. She came to reclaim what I just tore from her. My son reached the threshold of that room, paused. Then, without fear, without asking, he stepped in. And instead of confronting the mirror, he faced it. Refused to look away. A man finally choosing dominion. Out loud, not weak, he said. If you took shelter in confusion, I revoke it. If you fed on submission, I starve you. If you ever wore my obedience like a crown, I take it back. The mirror did not explode. It rippled. Like water. A face surfaced. Not hers. His. But not him. What she turned him into. My son didn't flinch. He whispered. You are not me anymore. The mirror shuddered like a living thing screaming silently. And at that exact moment, the front door burst open. She didn't break it. The door unlocked itself. She stepped inside as if invited. But she froze. Because the mirror in the back shifted its reflection. And for the first time, she saw herself. Not physical. Her spirit. And the thing she had been feeding. She gasped. Not in fear. In recognition. And suddenly, she did something no one expected. She stepped backward, refusing to come further. Because she finally realized. This was no longer a house she could rule. Too late to fight it. Too early to repent. She was suspended. Caught between power and consequence. Her lips trembled. What did you do? I finally stepped forward. Slow. Not angry. Not triumphant. Just final. We closed the door. You kept open. And right then, the mirror breathed out. Like something leaving. Fast. Gone. Gone. Felt. Not seen. The air settled. Still. Clean. And my son. Exhaled. A man truly free for the first time. And she, standing at the doorway, saw the cost of everything she had touched. Her face broke. Not rage. Not scheming. Regret. This was no victory. This was mercy. For all of us. And in that stillness, this story was not just ending. It was about to turn. She didn't leave immediately. That was the first sign. She stood at the threshold of my home, body still present, but spirit already searching for another door. Not to apologize. Not to flee. But to reconnect to the power she had just lost. Except she didn't understand. You don't lose that kind of power. It is cut off from you. Without warning. Without appeal. Her eyes blinked, slowly, like someone waking up in the wrong body. Then it began. Not dramatic. Just wrong. A delay. Like her mind and body no longer moved in sync. She turned to leave. But paused. Not confusion. Calibration. Like a radio trying to locate a signal that no longer existed. She stepped outside. And froze again. The world sounded too quiet to her now. No frequencies answering back. No spiritual current feeding her. Just plain air. God ruled. Silent. Untouchable. That is when the panic began. Not a scream. Not a cry. A collapse from the inside. A woman who realized, for the first time, she could no longer feel anything feeding from her. She walked down my porch steps slowly. Then slower. Then slower. Like a puppet loose from its strings. Because understand something. Possession is loud. Freedom, against your will, is suffocating. She didn't look back at us. She didn't shout threats. She just kept walking. But her steps didn't match the rhythm of the earth anymore. Her soul was lagging behind her body. That's the kind of judgment nobody sees. No fire. No thunder. No death. Just an unplugging. A woman still breathing. But unreachable. She crossed the yard. Reached the sidewalk. Stopped again. Still trying to hear for something that wasn't answering. And the most terrifying part? She whispered to the empty air. Like a woman calling a lover by name. Come back. But nothing came. Nothing ever would. Not because she was punished. Because God will let you keep every door you choose. And she chose one he no longer stood behind. She walked away. Not destroyed. Worse. Dismissed. Forever carrying a silence that sounded like eternity. Not hell. Absence. And sometimes, absence is far more terrible. My son watched her fade into the distance, and finally whispered, "Mama, is she gone?" I kept my eyes on the empty road. There was no joy in what I saw. Only a truth I have lived too long to ignore. "She's not gone," I said quietly. "She's just unseen now. And that is the kind of fall you do not recover from. Not because God won't lift you, but because pride will never kneel." The door closed behind her. But the house didn't exhale. Not yet. Because removal isn't restoration. It's just the clearing of space. The real war, the final one, is always internal. I turned from the door slowly. My son was still standing in the hallway, in front of the mirror room, watching nothing. Not afraid. Not traumatized. Just still. Like a man waiting to see who he now was, without resistance, without manipulation, without that constant silent pressure guiding his reactions before he could even think. I didn't move toward him. I didn't speak. This moment could not be coached. He had to step into it, not by comfort, but inheritance. And he did. One slow breath. Shoulders squared. Not in defense anymore. In claim. He stepped back into that mirror room again. This time, not to fight, but to finish. The mirror was clear now. Still. Normal. Almost innocent looking. But he didn't relax. He understood. Evil doesn't disappear because it is unseen. It retreats to wait for neglect. That's when he did something I had never seen him do in 32 years of motherhood. He spoke to the house. Not nervously. Not ritualistically. As a covering. A man finally aware of the difference between occupancy and ownership. His voice settled into the room like a rightful throne. "I name every heir in this house submitted to peace. I name every heart in this house protected by truth. And I declare, on my own authority, that this house will be ruled by wisdom. Not by emotions, and never again by fear." The mirror did not react. But the air did. Subtly. Quietly. Not a wind. A recognition. That's the thing about true dominion. It never needs force. It just is. He turned from the mirror. Walked back through the house, not like a survivor. Like a rightful heir reclaiming every inch. When he reached the living room, he finally looked at me. Not as a child asking for approval. But as a man offering alignment. "I'm ready now, Mama." I nodded. Only then did I speak. Then seal it. He understood instantly. No hesitation. He went to the center of the room, dropped to one knee, not in weakness, but strategy. And prayed the simplest, truest prayer a man can ever speak over a home. "Lord, keep me from ever becoming the threat at my own table." Silence. Then. The atmosphere shifted. Not heavy. Not violent. Full. Claimed. Peace didn't enter the house. It enthroned itself. And for the first time, truly, the battle felt finished. Not safe. Settled. And I knew. The house was finally no longer mine. It was his. The house didn't feel lighter. It felt anchored. Like something ancient had just settled into its rightful seat. Not spectacle. Order. My son rose from the floor slowly, not dramatic, just steady. His face was different. Not happier. Not relieved. Centered. The kind of stillness only a man holds when he has finally met himself, without interference, and didn't look away. He walked past me. Not asking permission. Simply moving in his now set position. And for the first time since he was a boy, he walked the house like a man who planned to guard it, not just live in it. I followed him quietly. Not to lead. To witness. He checked every window. Not in fear, but confirmation. No strange presence. No residue. No tugging in the spirit. Just quiet. A real one. He paused at the last window, looking out at the street where she had walked away from this home, still breathing, but spiritually dismissed. He didn't look at her direction with bitterness. He looked outward like a man finally aware. The danger was never her. It was the me that she brought out. He didn't say it out loud, but I heard it in the air. And then, gently, he turned toward me. No sermon. No apology tour. Just this. You won't have to guard me from myself anymore. I didn't cry. I didn't embrace him. I simply said. Then go forward and build, not seek to prove. A long silence. A holy one. A final one. He nodded. Not emotional. Just convicted. And then, his voice, low, assured, the last thing needed to seal all realms. This house is now governed, not haunted. And with that, peace didn't fall. It remained. Not fragile. Installed. Legacy realigned. Breath returning. War finished without noise. No enemy slain. Just removed from position. A truer victory. The kind that ensures it will never return. And to you, if you are listening right now, and you are still here, please don't just slide past this like content. Type "it ends with ME" in the comments. If you felt this, not as a story, but as a warning, a mirror, or a prayer you needed before it was too late. Because if you speak it, it seals it. And you will not walk blind into the war you were born to end.